Far-winded. There we go. So, so this is a special episode. Gonna happen each Wednesday that I'm home during the month of September, breaking down the season, and I might actually carry it into October through rifle season. When going out on the hunts, and so that way just can open up the floor for questions and answers, and let you guys kind of know what's happening, and so it's all right. Let's dive into it. So, all right, as you guys know, we chose a completely new spot this year. It is a spot that I have looked at on X for a while. It's always piqued my interest. This year we went in there first part of August into July, somewhere in there, to retrieve a couple of trail cameras that had been soaking in there for 5 years. And as soon as I saw the country, I was like, I want to hunt this. So never been in it other than that one weekend, one ride. Did not really go anyplace else. And so as soon as I got back for that, and we decided that we were going to switch over here. First thing I did was pull open the map and just start dropping pins. I want to look here. I want to look here. And primarily things I was looking for was benches, water, feeding, and bedding areas. And so driving up there Thursday evening, I stopped in the first basin and bugled, let off some cow calls, bugled again, and then I got an answer across the basin. And I was like, sweet, first bugle of the year in the new spot. Haven't even made it to camp yet.
Wow.
There was a camp that was right there I had passed, and so I'm like, well, I'm sure those guys are hunting this basin. And so I proceeded to go up to camp, and Bryce is normally the first one in camp. I was the first one this time, and I have discovered it's very, very nice to be the first person in camp because you get to choose the perfect spot for your trailer, and everybody else has to fight for the leftovers.
This is true.
Yes. So I set the trailer up after trying a couple of spots, and then I'm like, you dummy, that's a really pretty flat spot right there. Back of the trailer is going to be facing the evening sun. You're going to have shade. And so anyways, then I was getting my pack ready and I got the reeds out and started kind of doing some cow sounds to see which reed I wanted to go with. And lo and behold, a bull on the ridge across the meadow from camp, across the valley, bugles. Bugle number 2 for the year. I was thinking this is going to be kind of cool to be able to go right out of camp, cross the creek, and go chase bulls right from camp. Not have to drive anywhere, not have to ride anywhere, nothing. I did not hunt that area at all the first weekend. So basically what I did was the way when I go into a new area is I break it into quadrants. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So basically if I have a great big square, I'll break that up into 4 smaller sections and I'll focus on areas in those sections. And primarily last weekend was take inventory, get to know the area a little bit, see where other hunters are going, what the hunting pressure is like. And so it was kind of more of an informational gathering weekend, but if we got a bull on the ground, that was a bonus. So Friday morning, the plan was Bryce and I to take the electric dirt bikes and hit a 9.6 mile long motorcycle trail and bugle along the way and ride and look for tracks and rubs and sign and all that. So when we got to driving to the trailhead that morning, I stopped on the road above this great big huge canyon that we wanted to go in and hunt and bugled and bugled again and bugled a third time. Now the elk in my dream the night before, they read the script because there were 7 of them that answered in that valley in my dream. The reality was we didn't hear a damn thing. There was not a single bugle. My heart just sunk. I was like, oh my gosh. So then we get to the trailhead, we unload the bikes, and Bryce is standing on the road at the trailhead looking all the way down on the bottom, and he's like, "We're going all the way down there?" I said, "Yep." And then we're going up over to there. So the trail down, not too bad. We crossed the creek, took the motorcycle trail into that great big bench. We cut a set of tracks of, from that morning, probably 3 or 4 elk in that herd heading up the hill. And I said, well, they're probably going up, dropping off on the backside in that northeastern facing timber on the backside in the next drainage over. So we kept riding, and then we got to on the map, it showed a bunch of switchbacks on the motorcycle trail. Well, that trail turned into the nastiest, gnarliest motorcycle trail I've ever been on in my life, and I will never ride that section of trail again. It was just horrible. Just boulders, down trees, all kinds of stuff. But it dumped us out in this meadow, which the meadow kind of led up into a basin that I had marked as a possible feeding area. As soon as we got in there, sure enough, there was fresh elk crap everywhere. And we cut the tracks coming out of that, following up a soft ridge. And so we started following the tracks. And I said, okay, Bryce, we have their feeding area. We have their morning travel corridor. We know which direction they're heading to bed. We didn't know exactly where they were bedding down, and thermals weren't really that good, so we didn't go too far. We didn't follow the tracks all the way because we didn't want to blow them out of there. But we spent from probably about 45 minutes to before first light till about 2:30, 3 o'clock in there, just kind of exploring everything. Now, here's the weird thing. Pay attention, boys and girls. I got a question, and the winner will win a prize. So, Jay Colley, pop that ugly mug back in front of your camera here.
I'm here.
All right. So, in this area, we had rubs from last year and rubs from previous years, but 0 rubs from this year. Why?
Pressure.
Nope.
Fire.
They're still
probably.
in velvet.
Nope.
Wolves.
Nope.
What's this year?
You have rubs from last year and previous years, but no rubs from this year. What would that information tell me?
Might be a rutting
They wrote
area and
the
they haven't
ones out?
moved in yet.
Bingo, Sandy got it. It's a rutting area that the main herd that ruts in there has not moved in yet. The only elk that are in there are kind of a local herd that kind of stayed behind while that herd bull went down and gathered up the cows before moving back up in there. So, Mr. Sandy, please message me your address so that I can send you a 3-pack of Native by Carlton V3 reeds to play around with.
Will do.
So it's all right. Bryce couldn't figure it out either. So, and then when we got back to camp, I asked Eric and Kevin, and Eric's like, that's because somebody killed the bull that was in there. Well, if somebody killed the main herd, if somebody killed the main herd bull that was in there, one of the satellite bulls would have taken over the herd and would still come back in there to frickin' rut. So yes. So that's one thing that excited me, the fact that we saw the sign that we did. Now, once we backed out and got back on the, what's that?
You said sign. I thought you said something else.
Oh,
So that's why I was saying wolves and
oh, gotcha.
fire.
No, what's crazy is we didn't cut a single wolf track, no wolf scat, never heard howls all weekend long. So that was great. Everywhere we went, no wolf sign. But once we got back out and we got on the main road, we looked over to where we were, and then all of a sudden, bang, it just like a bright neon light over on that mountainside saying bedding area here, bedding area here, bedding area here. So now we finished that loop on that group. We know where they bed, we know where they feed, we know their morning travel corridor, and we know the evening corridor. And the nice thing is riding the trail in, we can stop right before those switchbacks where the trail gets really nasty, and side hill right over and J-hook into that bedding area. So we don't even have to go all the way up top and chase them. We can actually get over into their bedding area and wait for them to come to us. So Quadrant 1, we got that area figured out. The next day, we stayed in the generals. Kevin and Brandon were now up with us. We headed out on the side by sides, and we were going to split up. And I did not give those guys specific detailed instructions enough. So basically, I did not pull up the map and go, I want you to go right here. I explained, hey, you're going to go up this road. It's going to curve around that ridge right there. Just stop when the road curves and walk the road down, look for tracks, look for trails, do some bugling and listening. Somehow they took that of, oh, he wants us to stop and hike the top of this ridge, which is like a pixie sticks that somebody poured out on the ground with downfall and everything else. I'm glad I wasn't with them. Justification, Kevin fell 5 times and screwed up his sight on his bow. So Sandy, yes, it happens. We had to do in-camp repairs. Bryce and I went to another end of the road, and it was really weird because we got out and we started hiking, and there was not a single track, not an elk, not a deer, and this place had a really, really weird feeling. Now, mind you, too, this is the second time of us heading back in this area, and we have still yet to see a vehicle. Nobody back there. And Bryce and I are starting to think, man, does somebody know something that we don't? Because nobody's back here. This is just weird. And so we cut another road down it just to see. And all of a sudden, we hit 3 vehicles on that road. One was an out-of-stater. The other 2 were locals from the nearest town. So I'm like, Bryce, if there's locals coming here, what does that tell you? Locals have a lot of time to dissect areas. And so they were down at the end of the road. So we came back a little bit and there was a basin. We went up into the basin, started hiking up in there a little bit, cut a fresh trail with a fresh bull track coming from the creek up towards the top. And I said, well, the timber stops a little bit up there. So I think he's just bedded right on the edge. Let's go up into the end of this basin and then loop up onto the ridge and come down. And, by that time, thermals should be blowing up and, we should be able to engage this guy. Still haven't heard any bugles during the daylight other than what I heard Thursday on the way in. Well, our plan worked. We went to the back, looped up on the ridge and started working down the ridge to where we had pinned where that trail and the tracks were. And then timber was kind of sparse. There was little pockets of it up on top of this ridge, but mostly it was open. And then all of a sudden we get to a pocket of 5 trees and God dang it, there's a fresh bed right there with fresh pea right in the middle of it and tracks where something had kind of trotted off a little bit. That bull outsmarted me. He did not bed on the edge of the timber, just down off the top of the ridge. He bedded down right on top of that ridge where he can see things approaching his location. So, old bull outsmarted me, but now I know what he does. And that trail that he was on was pretty worn. So I think he uses that trail regularly, going down to the creek and back up, down to the creek and back up. Now, again, in this area, old rubs, no fresh rubs from this year. So I think, again, I'm thinking he's a larger bull. I think this is an older age class bull in this case that's waiting for a younger bull to spend all the energy down lower rounding up the cows and then coming up, and then he's just going to kick the crap out of that younger bull and he's going to have his cows. The only reason I say that is because of the size of the track and the size of the bed that I saw. Pretty good size. So Saturday evening we went and hit another trail in another sector, rode the bikes all the way out to a point to where we could look down into a drainage in a basin. Was doing just some advertising bugles just because it was still pretty early in the evening. I just wanted to act like a bull laying up there just advertising. So I was throwing, one bugle out every 5, 10 minutes. And then things kind of got late. So I told Bryce and Brandon, hey, let's split apart and start calling back and forth, see if we can get herd excitement going. We got a bull that bugled. He was actually coming in. So we got reset up and positioned. He bugled again. Heard the twig snap at 40 yards, and I'm like, and I'm like, oh, he's got to walk 15 more steps. He clears this brush, and Bryce has a perfect broadside shot. And then I felt the wind on the back of my neck. Wind swirled. So there is another bull that we have located at this point. So again, our plan was to just cover ground, get elevated that we can see, we can hear, we can cover miles looking for tracks, figuring out travel routes, all that kind of stuff. And then Sunday, excuse me, Sunday, Mother Nature decided that there wasn't enough water up there and enough moisture. So she decided she wanted to rain all day. And it would be the point where it would just kind of drizzle and we'd be like, okay, we're good. Hey, let's hunt this area just outside of camp. Let's not go too far. And as soon as we start going, then it would just be buckets. And so we'd turn around and retreat back to camp. And finally, Sunday evening, it opened up. So we decided to do another 12-mile loop on the electric bikes. Our plan was it kind of starts with an ATV trail, goes to a less prominent ATV trail, to a motorcycle trail that comes down to a main road, and then we can loop back to camp. That took us into a basin that an old fire had gone in through, but there was actually right in the middle of the old burn with some good pockets of really dark timber with a creek going through it. We never got any bugles there, but we did catch some pretty good tracks, some pretty good elk activity kind of going, towards that. Then we got on the motorcycle trail, which was not a motorcycle trail. It was more like a Eastern Pakistan goat trail that sometimes it was there, sometimes it wasn't. We were actually pulling up onX map to see if we were actually on the trail. And we were like, oh man, we're 60 yards above it. We need to drop down more. And some of the brush that was so overgrown, we got so stinking wet from the brush and grass and everything. But we got to a point, there was a really good patch of timber right before the main road, and we got a bull to answer us twice down there. It took us a little while to get down to where he was. Lo and behold, when we went down and crossed the creek, there's actually an old road that the motorcycle trail is on that goes back to the main road, and that bull had come down and was walking, and he bugled from down on that road. So now we know with that the top part of the trail going into that basin with the timber in the middle of the burn, and the lower part of the trail accessing off the main road, there is a bull on the bottom and there's elk up top. So all in all, I mean, all total, I think we got 5, 6 bulls located. Only heard about 6 or 7 bugles. But so Sandy, to really answer your question, the way that we really find elk in a new area is covering ground. You can do it with a truck, you can do it with a side-by-side, but just dissect your hunt area and just start dropping all kinds of pins. And then you start going to those pins and start checking them off. Nope. But you want to pay attention to the sign that you're seeing around, like that first spot that we went into with, the rubs. You can definitely see rubs from previous year, nothing from this year. That tells me, okay, this is going to be a spot later on in the season, or even this weekend now with them moving back in, that definitely is going to be a spot we're going to hit. The other thing that we do too is we pay attention to where's all the other hunters at. And we notice that main road coming in, there's a lot of people that go up and down that main road. and bugle, because there's a lot of basins and draws and canyons that's all they do. They run up and down that road and bugle, and as soon as they hear something, off they go. So there was a couple areas in particular. So because Eric couldn't hunt this weekend, so what Eric did was he spent a lot of time on the side by side, just driving around bugling, trying to locate. He started telling us everywhere that he's seeing vehicles and places that he's seeing people hunting. So now what I did as soon as I got back was I took that information and going, okay, here's our high pressure areas. Where's the escape routes and where are these elk going to go due to the high pressure? Then once I located those, I'm looking for saddles that they can get easily over a ridge into the next drainage, into the next basin, whatever. Then from that point, then I'm like, okay, what access do I have? Can I take the motorcycles to get to them? Is there something that I take the truck or the side by side to and then hike in? What are those? And so really the first weekend was just really informational gathering. The couple of things that we had was obviously full moon. We heard quite a bit of bugling at night, and we noticed all the elk were heading to bed about an hour before daybreak. So, Jay, did you get out last weekend?
No, I've been working too much.
Well, that's what happens when you become self-employed.
I know.
Yeah, self-employed means working 60, 70 hours a week to avoid working 40 for somebody else.
Yeah, but I'm going out tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, so tomorrow night.
Okay. Well, between the full moon and the storm systems that we had coming in last weekend, that really affected behavior. I think this weekend, moon's disappearing, temperatures and weather is looking great. I think there's going to be some pretty decent bugling activity this weekend. Also, too, with elk behavior that I saw, there's still some elk that are in the cow gathering mode last weekend. Now they're going to have those. They're going to be moving into their breeding areas and basically just getting ready for the rut. So I think it's going to be a great weekend vocalizing. So our plan is, Bryce and I were talking about it today. He asked if we were going to be living down off that motorcycle trail this weekend. And I said, well, I don't think Knox, my 11-year-old, will like riding on the front of the motorcycle on that trail because it's not that great of a trail anyways. And so our plan is to get up there early enough Friday that we can go down that main road and hike in that secondary road motorcycle trail and work that bull that piped off Sunday night. And plus, we've got Knox with his cow calls and his raking ability that he's all ready to do his part and call in a lovesick bull for us. And then Saturday, we're going to go back over to where I was trying to send Brandon and Kevin and hit those roads. So it's going to be a combination of still checking out some new areas, but going back and hunting some of the areas that we located elk. So now the hunt actually starts this weekend. It's going to be a combination. We'll hit some of the areas that we've already found elk, but also hit new areas. So that way, when we go up next Friday, the 15th, and we're there for the long hunt, we know exactly what areas we're going to focus on now for that long hunt. So yeah, it cost us a couple of weekends to learn, but then when we're up there for the long hunt, we know exactly where to focus our efforts and intensities. So, makes sense.
Did you see a lot of people up there last weekend from Labor Day weekenders?
No, not really, just because of the weather. I mean, Sunday was 53 degrees as a high and raining. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it was yeah, I actually had to turn my heater on in my trailer Sunday night when I got back from the rain or from the ride because I got so wet and just the ride back with the bike and the wind. I know I was joking with Bryce. I was like, God, I said I want to go fast because I want to get back to camp early because it's cold, but I don't want to go fast because I'm wet and that wind is cold. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I had to turn the heater on. Now this weekend, we are looking at highs in the mid to upper 60s and lows in the low to mid 40s. So perfect weather. Um, Friday is going to be clear. Saturday, there's going to be partly cloudy. There's going to be some clouds moving in and out. So, and that's kind of what screwed us Saturday night with that bull coming in was the clouds moving in. When the sun was out, we had a normal, consistent wind, but a cloud covered that sun. And we've talked about the thermals before, but a sun covered that cloud just at the unopportune time and caused that wind to swirl and give that dude a nose full of something he didn't like. So, all right. So, Sandy, did that kind of answer your question about how to find elk in a new area?
Yeah, I'm wondering when who you're auctioning off your old hunting site to.
That site is still staying as a backup plan. This new site has a lot of promise. And in fact, on the way out, I ran into a buddy of mine, and he was just getting back to his truck from a hunt, and I pulled over, and I'm sure he was thinking, "Who the hell is this jackwagon pulling up to talk?" And I jumped out, and I'm like, "There's no elk in this freaking area," and he's like, "Oh, I didn't know you hunted up here." I'm like, "I didn't until this weekend." So, but started talking to him. He's hunted up there for years, and I kind of asked him where he's been hitting, just because I want to stay out of his areas and not bump him. And he asked where we were going, and he basically told me, he goes, "A couple of those areas, you guys are going to be the only people hunting in there because nobody's really dumb enough to go in there." He goes, "But obviously you are." And I'm like, "Well, you know me." He goes, "That's true." He goes, "I've seen some of the areas you go into," and I shake my head. And I said, "Well, all right, if we're the only ones in there, then that could be a good thing." Of course, one area may turn into a 2-day pack out, and we may regret going in there, but we'll see.
I'd rather a 2-day pack out than tag soup. So
Yeah. And we've got some other areas now that I kind of look, because I notice a lot of people too, we're going to the end of the road past our camp. And off that camp, there's a motorcycle trail to the right, which we had been on, but then there was an ATV trail that goes to the left that turns into a motorcycle trail. And we saw a lot of people camping or driving to the end of the road and hitting that trail. And when you look at it on X, you're like, why? It's barren, it's open, there's nothing. And then I got to thinking about it. So the thing you have to remember on a lot of these satellite imagery that OnX and all these people use, they buy this satellite imagery from companies, and some of that satellite imagery could be 10 years old. So, timber could have grown back up or something. And so we did start to go for a ride back there Sunday, part of it. And I'm looking, and then once I started looking on the map, and I'm like, holy crap, Bryce, look at this. We can connect on these motorcycle trails 6.8 miles back, and we end up into a timbered basin that there's no other way to access that. No other way. I mean, there's some hiking trails from the bottom, but you're talking hiking 8-9 miles with probably 2,600 feet in elevation climb. So, I mean, there's a good distance to climb. Nobody's going to do that. And everybody that we saw hitting that trail, there's no way in hell that they're going 6.8 miles in and then 6.8 miles back in. There's some other pockets that are a little closer. I think there was one that was about 4.5. And I'm like, that could be where they're heading. But that 6.8, I'm like, Bryce, nobody's hitting that. So that's going to be definitely an area that we're going to ride back into and check. We're going to focus on the low-hanging fruit this coming weekend, like I said, down off that main road with that motorcycle trail, because that's a bull that somebody could stumble upon pretty easily. I think it's one of those things that he lives close enough to the road, so he's going to be one of those bulls that if he hears a side-by-side coming or a truck coming and then they shut it off and they do the loo bugling right there, he's not going to answer. But if you're slipping in quiet, so that's why I talked to Bryce about taking the electric dirt bikes down there when we hunt that dude. That's on a road. I'll put Knox on the front of the motorcycle to cruise down that one, but not the trails. So So that's basically a report recap of first week. I've talked to several people. Most areas really didn't have a lot of bugling activity. Jay, what did you hear about over there on your side?
Nothing.
Pretty quiet.
It was quiet. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you have some areas where people are like, oh my God, they were screaming. It's like, what's your version of screaming? Did the guy rip 4 location bugles back to you and that was screaming? I mean, so. Oh,
I just want to find a place to hear some elk. I've heard 2 elk in 4 years.
Wow.
well, hopefully,
I'm
hopefully,
changing up this year, going to a whole new area.
is it the area we did the e-scouting on?
I did look up near that area. There's some country I want to try. I I ended up my season is 10 days long, 11 days, something like that. And I got to come back and be a dad for 3 days of that because my wife got pulled off on for her job. But
Okay.
so my second half, I'm going to go to that area up in near the Idaho-Canada border.
Okay.
It's a long ways into anywhere up there. It's 2-3 miles, but there's some real good looking country out there. So I'm going to
So,
try that.
so remember too that no-go zone, that mile and a half to 3 mile zone. Really pay attention when you're going through that area. So, oh, the other thing too, some reeds I'm playing around with. Do you guys recognize that tape? Do you guys remember me talking about a wooden bugle that cost $325?
Oh,
Hunt
yeah.
Riven? Yeah. They have those reeds and then they have conventional reeds too. My first initial impression, I'm not impressed. So, not impressed at all. So, uh, feedback on the Slayer new reeds that I was field testing. They want to know longevity. The blue latex is already eaten and gone. And I mean, I grabbed the blue and popped it in my mouth the first morning to make a call, and holy cow, it sounded like a chicken. So I pulled it out and looked, and it was just already starting to deteriorate. And so then I pulled the other blue one out, hit out a couple of holes in it. The purples are still good. But basically, my go-to all weekend was the native V3 with the yellow latex. So I was using that one in the medium frame. Bryce was using the green latex and the narrow frame, performed and sound really, really good. And Brandon was using the wide frame with the yellow latex, and that one was working really, really well for him too. So, yeah.
I'm excited to try the new bugle tube bell.
Yep, that's the tube that all of us were using. So, in fact, Jay, I don't know if you've seen this since this is your first live tuning in.
I haven't. Is
That's
that
that's the new Rip It 2.0 frame. Because remember the old Rip Its just had that
metal
positioning
bar?
bridge? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is the new Rip It 2.0 frame. So
Is that the large frame or medium or?
large frame. The V3 series you're going to get in the medium, narrow, and wide frames
Wide.
with the full dome. But the Rip It 2.0 is going to have that new bridge, and so. But yeah, the new tube sounds great. In fact, it won this year's Grunt Tube Challenge.
Yeah,
So,
I seen that. That's cool. That's good.
yeah, it's got really, really good sound, good depth. Yeah, I think all 4 of us were blowing on that tube. Bryce did take the antagonizer out Sunday night. So I don't know. We've got so many tubes sticking in camp that we're going to swap around and play with them. So,
Hey,
all right,
Michael,
guys.
I
Yes.
missed that. You said something about 1 to 3 miles, but then my kids said something. I missed what you said
Oh,
on that.
okay. So remember, we talked about this before. I called it the no-go zone because the average person is only going to go a mile down a trail or a closed road. That's as far as they're going to go a mile. Then you have your backcountry fanatics that are going to go 5, 6, 7, 8 miles back in. So you have this block from about a mile and a half, 2 miles to about 4 miles that I call the no-go zone. The average person's not going to get to it. And the backcountry hunter, well, if he does less than 6 miles, he's a pussy and his friends are going to hate him. So he goes right by this. So you have a zone that nobody hits. Either people aren't getting to it or they're just blowing right by it. And the elk will recognize this and they will settle in that no-go zone. So when you're moving in, I know you said it's 3 miles or so to get in there. Once you start getting about a mile and a half, really start looking for sign on the trail, crossing or using the trail you're going in on as a travel corridor. Pay attention to that. If you get into an area that's heavy, heavy sign, settle down, slow down, and work that area. Forget about the destination you had in mind. Let the sign tell you where to go. Because a lot of people, even though they're seeing that sign, they will still just keep going because they have that destination in mind. They will leave elk to go find elk. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yep, pay attention to that and settle. So, all right, question time. Anybody got questions?
What are you shooting this year?
I'm still shooting the Matthews from last year, the V3.
V3.
Yeah.
Nice. Still no sights?
Oh no, I shoot a sight, just still no peep.
Oh, no peep. No peep. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
But I'm actually thinking about putting a peep back on, and if I do, I'm going to put a big old huge 1/4 inch peep on that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of one of those things that I mean, I can do a group like that at 50, 60 yards without a peep and just I don't have to worry about the peep not turning. I don't have to worry about low light situations. You know, plus it's really hard when somebody's standing behind you with a flashlight to get that light through the peep so it illuminates the pin. So,
Yeah.
no, we don't hunt that low of light, but no, it's just I've just noticed without the peep, it's such quicker target acquisition. So, and I get a much better sight picture. So, okay. Anything else? You guys notice that Mr. Greg's not here before tonight. He headed to camp yesterday, and that SOB sent me a text. He's like, I don't have his number saved in my phone. And so I get this text, hey, I need your help. I have a 7x8 that's 68 yards away, which is a little farther than my effective range. I'm not sure what I should do. I went ahead and took a shot, but I found my arrow at 33 yards, which is my effective range. What should I do now? By the way, I thought you might enjoy that. Heading out to camp. Good luck to you, and I'll tune in on nights that I can. And I'm like, appreciate it, Greg. Appreciate it. So, Jay, the story behind this is the last several years. And I'm kind of thankful the new area has absolutely no cell coverage unless I drive down the road a ways, because there has been times the past few years that I've been on the mountain. Usually I have my phone on airplane mode, but I'll stop and take a break and I'll flip it to check emails or something. And I will get texts and phone calls of, hey, I'm 80 yards from a bull. What should I do? Get off the freaking phone and go kill him. So the fact that Greg did that when he was leaving home to head to camp, I was like, kudos, Greg.
Well, I remember when I got my bull down and I texted you and told you I had the bull down. So
That's different. I like getting those texts. So
yeah.
I like getting those. For those of you, the guys that don't know, Jay is new on the new platform here. He's been a member. He's been a herd member on the Patreon for years. We've met in person a few times at some sports shows and talked when I've been over in Eastern Idaho. So even though he's a new face to you guys tonight, he is a longtime supporter of Elk Calling Academy. We've even done some lessons with him and his better half. So how's her calling doing, by the way?
We're not together.
Well, let me just open that wound and pour some salt in a little bit. Sorry about that one. I didn't know.
No, you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. So, but yeah, done some lessons with him, and yeah, he's been a
Yeah.
long time supporter. So,
Yeah.
Sandy and Jim have both been longtime supporter. And in fact, Jim, I think you've been here almost since the get-go, haven't you?
Yeah, I remember his name back when he used to on Facebook.
Yeah. Back when I was just doing yeah, the old
Yeah.
Facebook Live Q&As and
Yeah.
oh, that is something else that is going to be new for October as soon as season's done. I am going to do one public broadcast every month, and it's going to be a webinar because I'm going to start doing 30-day challenges. So the first one's going to be a 30-day challenge getting started, how to seat the diaphragm right, the high to low drill, low to high, all the fundamental drills. That's going to be the first 30-day challenge. And I'm just going to start doing 30-day challenges every month. So there will be some public Q&As. Do you guys remember a couple of weeks back when I said I had a new way to teach the chuckles? Oh, I have a new way that I'm teaching chuckles, and I'm gonna re-record the instructional video. And when Bryce and Brandon and I were up on that ridge, we were kind of laughing and joking because a couple of years ago I was teaching those guys how to buzz mule. And we're on the mountainside and they are just and we're laughing our asses off. And all of a sudden I look down and I'm like, guys, there is a cow staring at us. And they're like, where? And I'm like, 30 yards just down the hill. And I mean, we're up here buzz mewing and laughing and spitting because they just sounded horrible. And this cow comes in. And so I was up there and I said, guys, maybe we should buzz mew again, just joking because little shenanigans. And then I said, hey, I've got a new way to teach chuckles. And Brandon and Bryce both really struggle with chuckles just because they won't take the time to learn. And Brandon's like, oh, well, what's your new way? And I told him, I said, just do a cow mew. And he did a cow mew. And then I go, oh, and he did that and then suck in. So I said, cow mew, oh, cow mew, oh. And now start combining them. And he's like, oh, oh. And he gets his tube and he's like, oh, 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 oh. I mean, just perfect. And Bryce looks at him and goes, you're an asshole. Now, mind you, this is father and son because Bryce cannot grasp the concept of chuckling. He just struggles with it so hard. And so yeah, funny moment again on the mountainside. And it was short time after that we got the bull to bugle. So tonight's main lesson and topic: have fun on the mountain. Don't focus on the hunt. Don't focus on the punch tag. Have fun. Enjoy the memories. Enjoy the time with friends, and enjoy the scenery that's around you. So, all right, guys. Any other questions? Okay, then we're going to wrap it up for this. Next week, we'll be back again Wednesday, 7 o'clock, live again, and we'll give a recap of what ran into this weekend. So, all right, guys, as always, keep calling, keep practicing. More importantly, though, have fun. Have a great weekend. Good luck to you guys that go out. Jay, good luck over there. And we will see you guys. Sandy, you heading out this weekend, or when is your hunt start?
Sunday's opening day, so
Sunday's
I'll be
opening
out there
day.
Sunday.
Okay, well, safe travels. Enjoy the hunt. Have fun. And Jim, enjoy the less heat in Arizona.
Yeah, but the last one.
You can always go out and just bugle just because you don't have a tag. Just piss off those guys that did get an Arizona tag.
Call them in, take a
4.5
picture.
hours.
So, all right, guys, we will see you guys next week. Good luck. Be safe. We'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Michael.
See you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.